seal my
all the
fate.
fine-tuning of our universe exists. But then in order, once
Whiskey
you
and
believe in a
gold.
God, then you can then say there is an objective
It's
morality.
never
If
too
you don't
late.
believe in God, your position is correct. It's all just context.
I do disagree with one thing that like because there are multiple religions, right? Multiple monotheistic religions. So how do you determine which monotheistic religion is true?
Well, why is mine true? Because the resurrection is the
I'll
most
walk
documented,
alone,
followed, and proven fact of history. Of all the
but I
different
stand so
is that
tall
the resurrection of Jesus Christ
in
is
this
by
world
far
of
the
power.
most compelling event in human history besides the
I've
creation.
seen it all.
Is that we know Jesus existed, we know that he was
The
killed.
whiskey
we have extra biblical
flows,
sources that from Josephus, from
the
the
gold
Talmud,
is
to the historians of the day.
mine.
And there are so many facts surrounding the resurrection that cannot be explained other than that Jesus actually rose from the dead. From why use female witnesses, we know that he was in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, we know that the tomb was empty. Where did Jesus' body go? For example, if you wanted to disprove Christianity, why didn't they just march through the streets with Jesus' corpse and say, nope, actually he is not risen from the dead, here he is right now. From all these different elements, we stake all of our chips as Christians into the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Amongst many other things, that the Bible is materially true every time that we do an archaeological discovery. We discover, the more that we search in the Middle East, the more we find out that the Bible is true.
Never too late.
Okay, so your belief is basically based on the truth value of Christianity, basically, right? And like the fact that like you believe that your religion is true, and therefore that's where you derive your morality from, right?
Partially, yes, but even before that, you don't have to believe in the resurrection to believe in God.
Okay.
You can believe in God and not believe in the resurrection.
So
But
if
you
I-
asked me why I believe in Christianity.
So, for example, there are a lot of arguments. For example, the cosmological argument or teleological argument that you mentioned, which do not really do not refer to like a particular god, right? It just refers to God in general.
Correct.
So
And-
how do you derive morality from just the existence of God without associating it with a particular religion?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you can use reason that if there is a God, then God would want us to live a certain way. And which way is best, which way is most efficacious. This is not my argument for it, but this would be a more deistic morality that some of the founding fathers had. That if there is a God, well then he probably wouldn't want us to screw up this place too much. He wouldn't want us to hurt each other, right? You can use your reason to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's not a perfect fit. The Christian answer is a far better one, right? And a lot of what we consider to be correct moral thinking is rooted from a belief in objective morality.
That's fine, but like then you would have to contend with things like the problem of evil, right? Because that would be like a problem, right? Because like for example, the Christian theistic, like the God is like all good, right?
Yes, but sorry to interrupt, but atheists have a problem of evil too.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what the problem of evil
What
is
is
for the
that?
atheists? They can't tell us what evil is,
That is-
right?
yeah.
That is true. So we have a problem of evil, which is to explain evil. We struggle with that. Atheists have a problem with evil, which is they can't tell us what is evil or good.
But that's because they don't believe in objective.
Exactly. So that's a bigger problem. So they can't even use the problem of evil against us because by what definition they consider something evil. They can use a problem with suffering.
Yeah.
Because suffering is objectively measured, right? Pain or struggle. So yeah, I mean, look, the problem of evil, I don't have a great answer. I'm not going to give an answer that no one's ever given. Evil, actually, you could argue, is an absence of a good thing. Evil itself does not necessarily exist. It's just the absence of good, the same way that dark is the absence of light. But look, we as Christians, we have a couple things that are very hard to answer, right? Problem of evil and like why kids stop. I mean, amongst many other things, right? Atheists have to explain everything else. They have to explain why we're here, how the earth was created, love, mercy, justice, forgiveness, everlasting life. And so we do have an answer in the Christian faith that God uses all things for good for those who loves him. God works in mysterious ways is the other thing that we say. But also we also believe in original sin. But all of that actually appeals that there is a transcendent good. Evil itself does not disprove God. It might question what you think of God and the nature of God, but itself does not necessarily disprove God.
Okay, thank you. I did have like one more point.
Yeah, and then we'll get to the next question. Very good though. Yeah.
Very quickly, like you mentioned that like the previous person also talked about you believe that like university is a scam, right? I just wanted to like ask you specifically like what aspects do you think are a scam? Like do you think all majors are a scam, all universities
Not
are a scam?
necessarily, but I mean, half the kids in this audience, if they get a job, they'll end up getting a job that does not require a college degree. And when you think about that, I mean, by the way, the national graduation rate's only 59%, 41% of you enter college do not graduate.
I do agree with you that the tuition part of it can like nowadays like on the internet you can find almost any information. I do believe that like the utility of universities is the networking that you can do with peers as well as like industry professionals, and also the resources that universities provide, especially for the STEM subjects. And I wanted to ask you, like, since you
Really quick, yep.
yeah, I would last question.
Last question.
I wanted to ask you, like, since you did not like go to university and like you built this entire big organization yourself, how did you tackle those networking challenges, and like how did you like step by step build up to this?
Phenomenal question. You find somebody you want to go meet and you go find them. You don't need to go to college to meet important people. You literally can be like, okay, what do I want to do? Who's the best person in my local area? Find out what charities are involved. Call their office. Show up at their office. You'd be amazed at how many people are willing to work with you and meet you, but you don't need to necessarily go to college to be able to do that networking opportunity. Thank you so much. Very good. Do you want a hat? Okay, thank you. Excellent questions. Very thoughtful, my friend. Thank you. That's how it should be. Give it up for him. That was really good, everybody.
I've lost it all.
Charlie, can you throw me a hat?
The empire I built.
All right, next question.
All right. So I would like to ask you about for abortions, right? How do we explain to those who are for it? How do we explain that even I don't know if you believe this or not, but in terms of like a rape or unintentional or really unconsented pregnancies, can we say that we should still be anti-abortion in that scenario?
Yes.
What's your grounds for that? And how would I explain it to someone else?
Sure, it's a good question. Let's say I have two ultrasounds here. One is an ultrasound of a baby from a loving marriage. The other one is a baby conceived in rape. Which one is which?
We can't exactly tell.
So they're both human beings.
Right.
They both deserve human rights.
Okay. But then what is if someone pushes back against with the idea? Do I? Oh. What is if someone pushes back with the idea that now, in terms of the mother, right, one of them was willingly conceived while the other one was a forced conceived?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair argument. The question then should be, when, if ever, in your moral universe, is it okay to do something evil after an evil act to try to make that evil act correct?
But how about in terms of, what if we're in the position of the mother, and she is, I don't want to take the risk of illness, death, or whatever to have this child.
Sure, so it's a little bit of a false choice because they're acting as if the termination of the pregnancy will have no consequences or costs. A lot of women that get abortions have regret. Women die when they get abortions. They have a lot of other health issues. It's not just like getting a haircut. It's a little bit of a false choice. But we come after it from a very basic moral argument. There are two lives involved. There's a little life and a grown life. And no one has the right to eliminate a human life in utero, period.
So then, at that point, now we're forcing someone to do something that they never consented to, never wanted to do. How isn't this violating their human autonomy?
Well, again, but eliminating the human being would also violate the baby's autonomy too, wouldn't it?
Well, then we would have to ask, right? Maybe in future years we will have the technology to be able to extract a fetus and grow a fetus outside of the uterus, but given our state of medicine right now, we do not have that.
Sure. I mean, but again, no one is delighting or rejoicing in these circumstances. I mean, it's a terrible situation. I want to reiterate that. But you have a unspeakably difficult choice that is very morally, clear though, which is that you don't eliminate a human being because an awful action happened.
Are you saying that as someone who can get... Well, I guess my pushback against that would be then if we say that it's entirely wrong, right? We're sacrificing someone's choice for someone's life, which is admirable, but...
It's also morally correct. You don't get to murder someone smaller than you if it makes your life difficult.
But then we can't exactly see. The fetus does not have autonomy. It cannot exist outside of the uterus
Doesn't
quite
matter.
yet.
Human dignity does not correlate with dependency. So dignity and dependency are not two things corrected. You have human dignity because you're a human being, not because of how dependent you are.
So would you say that viability happens when?
Viability is irrelevant.
So then, at what point does human life begin then?
Conception.
Conception, not even sperm or
That's conception.
eggs. Okay.
That's conception. That's
Well, I
when
just wanted to get
when an
that
egg is
basic-
fertilized. When an egg is fertilized, human life begins.
Okay, so then when it's still a single cell with both chromosomes pairings, right?
Well, it creates new DNA, right? So once the sperm and egg meet, literally something magical and inexplicable happens, where new DNA is formed.
Okay, and then what happens? So then,
Then it attaches to the uterine wall, and I can go through the whole
Yeah.
gestational process.
all right, so then we have the basis of human life. Now, what is if within the uterus, now that life is still alive, but is unable to proceed to, like, let's say, actual birth due to some medical situation that has happened?
Well, has the baby died without outside intervention or with outside intervention?
Let's say that the
Is it an ectopic pregnancy, or what? You got to be very clear about the type of.
the amniotic sac has
Yeah, that's an
ruptured.
ectopic pregnancy, right? So yeah, you can remove the baby from that situation without aborting it. The baby will die outside of the womb, but
Right.
you do not have to abort it. So those are two different things. The removal of a baby is what's called the cesarean section. You can do that very early on. Now, ectopic pregnancy is very real. It's very terrible, but you can solve an ectopic pregnancy outside of having an abortion.
But okay, so then what creates an abortion? Is it the heartbeat, the removal of the fetus? What exactly?
Well,
is
so
that?
I don't want to go too deep in this. Do you know what happens in an abortion? I mean, maybe you don't. They literally will break the back of the baby's skull, right? They will insert to the back a syringe of cyanide poisoning until the baby no longer. I mean, this is one of the most gruesome things. Everyone who's pro-choice, in my opinion, has a moral obligation to watch a video of an abortion just to know kind of what you're supporting. It's so beyond inexplicable. But yeah, look, really quick, what's the final question on this? Because I want to keep moving.
Oh, sure. So, you didn't really finish the question of when can we do that procedure, right? If there's still a heartbeat,
I don't think we should ever do that procedure.
what happens if, like, now the mother's life is going to die in, like,
Well,
the next
it depe-
15
it dep-
minutes, but the baby is still having a heartbeat? What do we do
It
at that
depends
point?
on, again, I don't want to speak to every specific. Some OBGYNs say abortion is never medically necessary. I'm not a professional enough to say that. But it depends how far advanced the woman is. If she's past 22 weeks, have a cesarean section. Try to have the baby live in NICU.
So there are situations where abortions are okay, right?
Well, no, I'm not even saying okay. Again, I don't know enough about some OBGYNs that they can defend their statement here. They will say abortion is never medically necessary. I'll allow them to defend that. I don't know enough about the details there to be able to say that.
So you're saying that you do not have a statement of whether abortions can never be true or always?
It is murder. Whether or not an OBGYN can prove to me, of which there's a lot of debate, it is ever medically necessary. So take, for example, if a baby is 26 weeks and the baby's, the mom's life is in danger, deliver the baby by C-section. Don't terminate the baby. Does that make sense?
Yes, I
The baby can survive outside of the womb.
Okay, at that point, yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next question.
Hi, Charlie. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's fine. Good to go. Thank you. Let's start off by laying some things that I think you and I would both agree on first. I'm sure you like our Constitution. I'm sure you're a big fan of our Bill of Rights, the habeas corpus inclusion in the before even the Bill of Rights in the Constitution itself. When we look at the current league of deportations that's happening, particularly when it predates to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, right? He is a man who hasn't had his due process. He never had his day in court.
That's not true. You know that he spent 4 years in court from 2017 to 2021. In fact, so much so that the judge even ruled on his immigration status, saying that he could be deported at any time for any reason.
That court order actually elapsed, so it wasn't valid at the time of his deportation. If we want to go through these, we need people to have their habeas corpus rights. We need people to have the ability to show up in court and actually exemplify their, have their case, be heard in front of a judge, be heard by a jury of their peers, pardon. And have a chance to be.
Okay, but again, I've done this so many times. Let me just pause, and I don't mean to pick on you. How hard the left is fighting for this MS-13 scumbag is just remarkable to me. It's like I'm not trying to pick on you. Let me let me make a broad
statement. The worst person in the world. He could be an absolute scumbag.
Is he a U.S. citizen?
No.
Oh, that actually changes things.
It does, absolutely.
And so,
but it does not change.
Due process? Yes, it does. The Alien Enemies Act says you do. No, that's not correct.
Okay.
The Alien Enemies Act says you do not have to give due process to those that you are deporting. It is not correct. So they invoked the Alien Enemies Act.
What does it take to invoke that act?
And signature from the President of the United States to say that you are being invaded by a foreign power or assisted by a certain force on enemy ground.
Correct.
He was part of MS-13, which is a paramilitary arm of the Venezuelan government.
So, but in order to enact that act, don't we need a war declaration?
Oh yeah. No, that's what he did on day one. He said that we're being invaded.
Does he have that power? I thought that was a congressionally approved
No,
thing.
that's not correct. The President of the United States has an ability within a 90-day emergency clause window to say that we are being invaded by a special power. It's called the War Powers Act of 1990 something. The War Powers Act gives the President the authority for 90 to 100 days to declare that we are being invaded. And we have been invaded, by the way, by MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. It's a material fact.
Considering, one of the things that's super important when we consider law is the spirit of the law. And do we really believe that these laws were enacted with the spirit in mind of gangs being associated as arms of a state?
Potentially.
MS-13 and Tren de Aragua are not Venezuelan arms. They're not.
No, MS-13 is. That's not correct. But let me throw it back at you. MS-13 is El Salvadorian and also Venezuela. Yeah, Tren de Aragua is Venezuela. MS-13 is El Salvadorian. He signed declaration of invasions against both. But let me challenge you on this, because you're coming after this in good faith. Was the First Amendment written in the spirit of Facebook posts?
Can you clarify a little bit?
The First Amendment,
Yeah.
part of the Bill of Rights, ratified in 1791, was it written in the spirit that it shall apply to tweets?
Not to private corporations.
Well, no, meaning like, do your free speech rights apply also to the internet?
So it applies to public squares. The question that we're having now is Facebook a public square? Are Twitter public squares?
It's a separate issue. The issue is that we would all agree that you have a First Amendment right to express yourself, and the government can't throw you in prison regardless of where you have it. Whether you write a newspaper op-ed or whether you do a Facebook post, right? You have a First Amendment right to do that. The point being is you say, well, the spirit of the law in 1798, it doesn't matter if a law is old. It matters what moral claim is the law trying to make, because times sort of change, but people do not. Human nature goes unchanged. And so the point being is the Alien Enemies Act has been invoked 4 times in our nation's history. War of 1812, Civil War, World War I, World War II. And I believe totally appropriately invoked here. It's been enjoined by the Supreme Court right now, so we'll find out its future. But when you have 15 million people come into your country in a span of 4 years, that is definitionally an invasion.
I guess an invasion requires a certain commitment from a state, right? It's a big difference between an invasion and an immigration wave is whether there's a state operating.
Or a force. The cartels, man. The cartels operate like a state. The cartels are the reason that a lot of these people are able to make it up to the border. They pay money to the cartels. The cartels are using drones. They're using speedboats. They're using helicopters. The cartels act like a government. In fact, the cartels run the Mexican government. The Sinaloa drug cartel is more powerful than the Mexican Mexican government.
I would agree with labeling these terrorist organizations. I think they have the funding, they operate, they have such. But there's a key distinction between a government entity and a terrorist organization.
Hold on a second. We declared war on Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
What government was Al Qaeda?
We can declare a war on terrorist organizations.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. So, if we signed the Alien Enemies Act against Al Qaeda, it would have been perfectly fair and appropriate, obviously. And Al Qaeda is not a government. What I'm saying, though, is that the cartels, the MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, they are being supported by governments. They're harbored in governments. The Alien Enemies Act, of course, applies to them. These are enemies here on the mainland of America doing harm. And Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a member of MS-13. He was a wife beater, a child abuser, here illegally. He had a deportation notice on his head, and now he's back in his country of El Salvador, and we should be happy that he's home.
So, I can grant you that he might be all these things. It does not mean that he doesn't get a day in court.
But as a non-U.S. citizen, though, the Alien Enemies Act allow us to expeditiously remove him. It's just the way it works. I mean,
No, you're right. But
and now that's not the
we
case.
can
The Supreme
argue
Court's
whether that was a correct invocation.
That's,
right?
but that's irrelevant. The
disagreement
Supreme
is.
Court has now said no more, so there will be no more. But in that specific case, nothing was done illegally. The only argument you might have is that the judge says you could deport him anywhere except El Salvador. So we probably should have just like deported him to, I don't know, the Congo, and everyone would have been happier. Hilariously, they said, oh, he's in a foreign jail. No, he's not in a foreign jail. He's an El Salvadorian in his own country. He's not an American. If he would have went to Gitmo, that would have been a foreign jail.
Okay. And then, let's see.
Thank
I
you.
think that's it for me. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Could I ask you for a red hat?
Yes,
sign?
absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. Great question. Yes, sir.
All right. Hi, Charlie. My name's Gabriel, and I'm a senior in high school. And I want to tell you this. I don't know much about this topic, so I'm here more to learn, but I also want to provide a point of view. So I wanted to speak about Trump's tariff policy. So since January 2025, Trump has had one of the worst presidential terms concerning the economy. And there are statistics to back this up. S&P has dropped 8%, Dow Jones has dropped 7%, the Russell has dropped 12%. The way I understand it, tariffs are a tax that are passed on to consumers. They impede upon the world's free trade and increase the cost of imported goods. This not only has tanked our economy, but is actually putting small businesses across America out of work. Middle-class Americans that voted for Trump believing prices would drop are now having to close down their small business because they used to rely on outsourcing. Now, I understand that Trump's goal with this tariff policy is to bring back jobs to America. However, this is an unrealistic reality. Even though some corporations are moving production to the U.S. to avoid tariff, in reality, most would rather pass the cost on to consumers than financially pay billions of dollars in building new plants in America and paying higher wages. With all of this, I wanted to ask you if you could please defend Trump's tariff plan.
Sure. Great. First of all, the market's recovering, but you're right, it has gone down. The market is not a necessarily good indicator of the economy. We have an economy, and then we have a market. Half of Americans don't own any stocks, just for the record.
Okay.
That's a very important thing, right?
There's a lot of Americans that have money in stocks and
Of
are
course they
losing
do.
money every day.
Well, actually, okay, you're in high school, so I'm just going to be like super gentle. Like, the market's been up the last couple days, right? Markets go up, markets go down.
Okay.
The more important question, though, is what type of economy is going to survive the next 40 or 50 years? When we do not make our own vitamin C, we don't make our own antibiotics, we don't make our own drone parts, and it's all made in China, we should try to re-domicile it. It's tempting to blame this all on tariffs, but there's actually no tariffs that are in place right now. You know that, right?
There's still a 10% baseline tariff, and even though there's a 90-day pause, they're gonna come back. That's the reality.
You know that better than I do, right? Yeah.
Well, I know that. That's a fact.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay.
There's a 90-day pause on
Okay,
tariffs.
so again, I'm trying to be super, like, you're in high school, it's fine. You know Trump's talking to South Korea and Japan and Vietnam.
Okay.
We're going to get massive deals with India, and we're going to fix the trade imbalances. And here's the core of it. Can we at least agree that Trump ran on the idea of tariffs?
He did.
And people voted for it?
Yes.
Should elected leaders do what people vote for them to do?
Yes, but
Okay.
I agree that he's doing what he said he would do. What I'm asking you is how can you defend what he's doing? Because what would you say to the middle class American that has a small business that now has to shut down their business because they used to outsource to China and now they can't pay due to the high tariffs? That's my question.
They were outsourcing to China?
Well, even though some small businesses don't outsource, they get a lot of their production from big companies that do make their products foreign. And so now those prices are being jacked up and small businesses are running out of customers because they're having to pass the cost on to the
I see
consumer.
no evidence of that happening, and I believe, first of all...
Well, what is the definition of a tariff?
Well, the tariff is a duty on an imported product. How do you avoid a tariff?
You move to the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. So wait, hold on a second.
Are most companies moving to the U.S.?
Actually, yes. You know there's over $6 trillion in investments announced in the last 2 weeks in
Okay.
the United States of America?
Yeah.
$6 trillion.
But what happens in the U.S.? You get higher wages. Where does that cost go? Businesses aren't going to just pay that cost. They
No,
pass
they are.
that cost on to the
Toyota,
consumers.
Honda, Stellantis, NVIDIA did a $500 billion investment.
Yeah,
Oracle,
NVIDIA's down
data
like
centers.
20% in the last 3 months.
Right, again, so I'm going to try to be very gentle with this. Stock prices are not always a reflection of reality. That is an inflection of investors' skittishness, right? So if Nvidia is down 20%, they might have been hyperinflated a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Let me just kind of close with this. Do we both agree we should make more stuff in America?
I agree in certain cases, yes.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think with critical manufacturing, critical industry, we have massive trade imbalances with these countries. The president is going to actually say you have to buy more of our product, buy more of our liquefied natural gas. And I believe coupled with that small business that you talked about, they're about to receive the largest tax cut in American history. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, and a massive middle-class tax.
But if we can produce goods foreignly for less money, why are we moving it back to the U.S.? And my other point is...
Because less money is not the most important
By
thing.
moving it back to the U.S., what are you, making more factory jobs? We're moving into a time where tariffs are behind us. Factory jobs are behind us.
Wrong.
Soon AI is going to take over these factory jobs.
And this is where you're totally wrong, man. We have 11 million manufacturing jobs that we need to fill in the next 5 years that don't require college degrees. Advanced manufacturing jobs, highly precise. Who's going to build all the robots? Who's going to build the drones? There's insane amount of hardware infrastructure that needs to happen. Factory jobs are not behind us. In fact, we have more hardware needs now in 2025 than we even had in 1985. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello. And you consider yourself a Christian? How do you consider yourself like a serious Christian if you support Trump after he raped Jean Carroll?
So you believe he raped her?
Yes.
Really, was he criminally indicted for that?
I believe he was.
No, he
guilty
wasn't.
For sexual abuse.
No, he wasn't. He was civilly found liable for slander in a slanted Manhattan jury. Tell me, what year was she raped?
Oh, I don't know.
She doesn't know either, actually, when she was asked.
The court found.
No, they did
that
not.
she
A
was
jury
guilty.
found him liable for smear and slander around this topic. Do you know that E. Jean Carroll said, quote, rape is sexy?
No.
She said that on air on the Anderson Cooper show. E. Jean Carroll says, do you know the facts surrounding the case?
A little bit.
Tell me.
No, all right. Okay.
Tell me.
Trump was, I don't know, indicted, found guilty for
wrong.
sexual abuse over
Wrong.
her because
Wrong.
he fingered her unconsensually.
He was never ever indicted. He was never that. This was a civil case that was around her. This was around smear and slander and defamation. Again, according to E. Jean Carroll's recollection, she can't remember the year, but she says some afternoon Donald Trump took me into a Tiffany store at the height of his power, at the height of his popularity, when he was on the front cover of Playboy magazine and decided to go rape E. Jean Carroll. Really, we're supposed to believe that?
I've seen pictures of Donald Trump and Epstein hanging out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he kicked him out of the Mar-a-Lago club. What's the next point?
Because Epstein raped kids and
Yeah.
you have to kick him out if he rapes kids. Like, you can't have that
Right.
personal.
Got it. So what's the contention?
I don't know. He raped kids. did.
Trump raped kids?
Yeah. Jean Carroll when she was 13.
She wasn't 13. The accusation was when in her late 20s, not when she was 13.
13.
Your typical liberal, everybody. Give it up for him. Thank you very much.
The government.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Charlie. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm studying abroad from Italy for this semester. Sorry? Yeah, from Roma. I've seen your videos online and I really respect what you are doing here. I have a question because in Europe we are facing the same problem with illegal immigration. And what are your stance on illegal families who came here many years ago and now are working and paying taxes in your country?
Every person who has come here illegally must be returned to their country of origin.
And I completely agree with you. I'm here to say something. I really like the speech that J.D. Vance did in Munich after the terrorist attack.
Do we like J.D. Vance, everybody? Isn't J.D. great?
Well, I'm not American, but I like him too. If I were American, I would have voted for him. However, in Europe, we are having a big problem with illegal immigration. People are coming, they don't respect our laws, they're raping women, stabbing. It's dangerous to go around. So I don't understand when people come here to talk to you, liberals and Democrats, saying that they want to welcome them, because you don't know who's entering in your country.
Amen. And I'll tell you, we need more legal immigrants like you in this country. I'll tell you what.
And it makes me upset that for me it's difficult. I'm respecting the law. I'm here. If I have to be here legally, I'm gonna go back to Italy because I cannot work. And it makes me upset seeing someone that comes here illegally and does whatever he wants. That's it.
God bless you. You want a hat?
If I can have a white one, because I already have
A white one, all right.
red.
Make Italy great again, okay? Very good.
I wish. Can I?
Hi, Charlie. I'm a senior in high school named Trevor, and I want to start off by saying thank you for coming to this beautiful city of San Diego. I just want to get your quick thoughts on two very specific topics. One being the photo of Kilmar Garcia's hand that Trump held up, and him advocating in an interview the other day with Terry Moran about it not being photoshopped in any way. I want to get your thoughts
Yeah, I
on
mean, it wasn't photoshopped. It was labeled.
that. Right, but he didn't say that. He said that the literal letters and numbers MS-13 were on.
No, they are. I mean, I have the picture here.
Yeah, it's photoshopped.
No, it's not. That's called labeling, not
Right.
photoshopping.
Right, I agree that he labeled it, but Trump was saying that they were on it. He kept going on and on about it for 2 minutes.
I don't know the point of what you're making. The iconography, I can look it up.
Right.
Literally means MS-13.
I completely agree that those logos were on each of his knuckles. I'm saying that the letters MS and the numbers 13 were not on there, but in the photo that Trump held up, they were, and he advocates that they were like on his hand, not that they were labels.
I don't know what you're talking about, but sure. What's your next contender?
Okay, and then I want to just get two things that you disagree with Trump that he's done in his current presidency.
Canada should not be the 51st state.
Okay. Okay.
And I think I not even a disagreement. I think we should have caution to try to go to war with Iran.
Okay.
We should be very careful about bombing the Houthis and getting closer to a war with Iran.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. You want? Yes. Who's up? All right,
How
here
are
we
we
go.
doing, Mr. Kirk? Yeah, hi. This is I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm gonna be like a debate king here. You have 10 years of experience on me, and I had a quick question though about on abortion, if that's okay with you. Right. So I think when we talk about abortion, I think we really get into this idea of like when we should assign personhood, right? So. You clearly believe that life begins at conception, and I think it would be better if we shift that metric to a more based on sentience. And I believe that and the question I have for you is that since you believe that life begins at birth, let's say we have a person that's grown to old age and they have died and they have absolutely showing no brain activity at all. Would you believe that shooting that person, that dead person is the equivalent of a human life?
Yeah, I mean, it is a human life, but those are two totally separate things. One is no more, and the other one's not yet.
Right.
So not yet is different than no more. If someone's at the end of their life and there's nothing more we can do to continue their life, that is a different moral conversation than someone that has not yet been completely grown as a human as you can. Two totally different moral circumstances, so you can't conflate the two.
Right. But I think they both have the same problem where it's about the presence of consciousness, right? Then.
No, it's not a problem. One, the consciousness will come. One will not. That's
right.
So they're two separate things. One has potentiality.
Yeah.
One does not. So you can't conflate the two.
Right,
together.
but okay, let's say let me use a different analogy then. Let's say I have a blueprint to a building, right? And I have the materials for the building, and you destroy those materials. The materials of the building isn't the building in itself. Can we both agree that there's a difference between those two?
Is the building building itself in real time and it's currently being constructed and it's going up?
No,
up,
but
up?
it still doesn't really matter because they're still adding value to the fact that we're creating the
bad
building,
analogy.
right?
A blueprint.
How's that? How's that
because the blueprint not itself is not the building.
Right, exactly.
No,
so
I'm
if
saying,
you were
but
to like,
a human being's DNA is not
we
just
agree
the-
on that though.
No,
that
no,
the
it's not.
blueprint is not the building, so there's probably different moral qualifications.
No,
right?
they're not. I'm saying though
Right?
that the baby is the building. So you're incorrect.
Okay, so
The building is following the blueprint.
So when you're looking at like I don't know, like a fertilized egg, you're telling me a picture of this fertilized egg is the equivalent of a human life
Yes.
right now. No, the
Yes.
exact
What's
same
the
thing.
difference?
The different stage of development.
So why
Right.
should stage of development give you more rights?
Well, I mean, okay, you're acting like this is
No.
not something this is done in society. Like, for example, we do judge based on different stages of development, like in cognitive capabilities, right? I'm not letting a fetus drive a car. A fetus can't
but no,
drive.
hold on. The right to life.
Alcohol and whatnot.
Apply the right to life
Okay,
to your
this
stage
is,
of
this is
development.
a little bit different. So I guess a different question I would have to ask you is like, why why is your I'm assuming your two qualifications here are the fact that like it's a unique cellular organism, right, that has the potential to
And
live,
it's
right?
human, which
And
is
it's human.
inherently has dignity.
So I guess then this brings up the question, because I know there's another scenario where this occurs, right, where fertilization of an egg occurs, and they're on track to development, correct? And this other example that I'll think of. There's like animals, right? I think, why do we not give the same moral consideration to animals as we are to zygotes in this
Oh, because
situation?
animals aren't human beings.
Okay, so but why is
Human beings have a soul and animals do not.
have a soul? So this is my point,
No,
guys.
soul is not just
is a
consciousness.
conscious experience.
it's
you
not.
are
Let me prove it to you.
engaging in
Wrong.
This is honest though.
Let me prove it
There's
to
a
you.
level
When
of
someone is
consciousness-
quote unquote brain dead, do you know that they still respond if someone stabs them, their norepinephrine goes up? Do you know that a woman still menstruates if she's brain dead? So consciousness is not human work. There's something else going on beyond consciousness that exists in a being that is the soul.
Okay, so now we're getting into a conversation of what the difference between the soul and a consciousness is. And
No, they're totally different. The soul is something beyond consciousness is your narration to yourself,
Okay.
your ability to reason. There's something above reason. All of us know what that is when it kicks in. You ever hear the expression, words can't describe? I am speechless. You know why? Speech is reason. When you see
Okay.
a sunset that takes your breath away, when you see a newborn life that is born, you don't even have the
Right,
words to
right,
express it
right.
because it transcends your
I
reason.
agree with that.
That is your soul.
So I mean that's a good point. Like when we give, what you just labeled there is like when a child is given born, when they're born, we give such moral significance to that, not the fact that like they got fertilized by an egg. I don't want to celebrate. I want to sort of like, I'd rather celebrate my birthday rather than like the day my parents had sex. That's kind of a little weird situation. You know what I mean? Like if life begins at conception.
Well, it's called your birthday for a reason.
Right,
But
because
you were
I'm
a
born,
living
right?
being, not.
It seems that like society
You were
kind of
9 months prior. you were-
gravitates to this idea of like an actual human being existing that
Oh,
gives
no,
moral
that's-
value, right?
One is your entrance to the world. The other one
Right.
is the actual creation of your being. Two different
Right.
things. Your birthday is when you entered the world.
Right,
For
right.
example, your birthday could be at 28 weeks, not 36
Okay.
weeks. So everybody has a different day when you exit the womb, but it's
Okay.
not when your worth begins. That's not when your value begins. That's simply when you exit the womb.
Right. So I have a good question. I really want to get back to this idea of like you give more moral value to the level of the fact that like that humans that are developed have a soul in comparison to like a zygote or actually no, animals
or a
animals.
coyote.
Okay. So is that not the same comparison to like a zygote to a developed human being in the sense that like we are a higher functioning conscious being in comparison to like this other thing that we can just actively kill whenever
It doesn't
we want.
matter.
Why does it
Can you
not matter,
actively
though?
kill a 1-year-old? Doesn't have as much acuity as you do or consciousness.
Right, yeah, but like I mean,
Can
that's
you?
not the,
Can you
that's
kill a
not the-
1-year-old?
That's the same thing because like this is
Of
like going
course
back
the
to
same
my
thing.
like
What's the
idea of
difference in a
sentience,
1-year-old
right?
and a 1-day-old zygote? What's the moral difference?
The level of consciousness.
Oh,
right?
so one's bigger, one's more developed, one's
No,
older.
that's lots more
The
developed.
consciousness
No,
is completely
sure,
irrelevant.
sure.
Because
How is
just
it
so you know
relevant?
that a 1-day-old out of the womb doesn't have a lot of consciousness at all.
Okay, sure,
It
that's
can't
fine.
speak. It can't really. It's kind
Right.
of like disembobulated.
But that's-
you don't get less rights for that.
No, I agree. I mean, like, well, to a certain degree, I agree with that. But like, there is a meaningful difference between a fertilized egg and a conscious
What is
human
it?
being. One is less conscious than the other.
Oh no, well, one has more skills. But like, what's the innate moral difference? And prove it to me.
Because it seems like we do restrict rights, and we do actually change rights based on development and consciousness.
No, about life. So like a 4-year-old.
Right.
What is the innate moral difference of a 4-year-old and a zygote?
One is more conscious.
Okay, got it. So I think that's irrelevant. I think they're both human beings deserving of protection. Consciousness alone is not a marker of dignity.
Okay, so then what is your marker of dignity? Is
Being
that
a human being.
Being a human being. So is your argument a little bit circular though? There, it's like it's just because we deserve rights because we're human beings.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's self-evident. We are human beings with a soul, therefore we have rights.
So we deserve rights because we're human beings because we're human beings. So like, how am I supposed to win against this argument?
You can't.
See, Okay, yeah, exactly. So
Because
inherently
it's called a self-evident truth.
So like,
It's
yeah.
called self-evident. So that's why the pro-life position is irrefutable.
But so
Because you have to posit human beings have rights.
And isn't that a kind of a concern that like we base all our entire ideology on this one illogical circle that?
No,
that
it's not
goes back and
illogical.
forth?
It's incredibly
Yeah, right.
logical.
So, like,
we are human beings,
What I'm
and we
interested
believe
in
that
is
they
that, like,
matter.
if you were to remove this circle here, then you would have to actually be pro-life in the sense it would be pro-life to all life.
Oh, we are.
Right. So
No,
pro-life to like
but
animals,
no,
and kind of, you know.
but we
it's
don't
saying-
believe
I'm-
human
look,
beings are.
I'm not like a vegan or anything. I'm not
But
vegetarian.
human beings
I
are not the
think this-
moral
if
same
you
as
were-
a bird. It's not the same thing. For multiple reasons, because a human being has characteristics and qualities, and most importantly, we believe as Christians, human beings have a soul that a bird does not have.
Okay, so characteristics and qualities.
And only,
like,
let me interrupt one more.
Sorry,
the West,
no
whether
problem.
you agree or not, sorry to interrupt, we believe the human being is the only thing made in the image of the Creator, Imago Dei.
Okay, so when you say characteristics and qualities, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you?
Well, first of all, not just the ability to reason, but
Okay.
also the ability to sympathize, empathize,
Okay.
feel, predict, plan,
Yeah.
conjecture, have
Right.
mercy, forgiveness,
Okay.
to be able to be
All beautiful
introspective.
things. I love that. I love that about us human beings.
Oh no, I know.
I'm not being sarcastic.
No, but
it's a good
we
point.
human beings are exceptional, actually. I mean,
Right.
versus the beasts of the wild, of which
Right.
we should appreciate and adore. But again, more beyond that, we come after this from a soft religious view, because you don't have to be Christian to believe this.
Right.
That the human being has innate, inherent, embedded, let's just say, dignity
Okay.
that a fox does not.
Right. Yeah. So what you just did there is kind of like my argument here. You're saying that like because we're human, we are more developed, we have higher cognitive reasoning, we're able to sympathize, emotion, and reason, do all this
And the
great
soul.
things. Right. But the thing is, well, I guess that's a religious belief though.
Well,
In
that's
my
an
belief
interesting
system,
question.
I think that consciousness is the soul.
And that's where why if you don't believe in God, it's easy to go want to murder a bunch of people. And I'm not criticizing you. It
Right,
goes
right,
back to
right.
just a common theme here. If you believe in God, every human being has dignity.
Well, you're kind of intuition pumping there about saying if it's murder because we haven't really discussed. We haven't even agreed on.
I mean,
whether
but look,
the zygote is
of course,
a human being,
if
worth
human
considering,
being
right?
and the elimination of human life is murder. But that's
Right.
fine. We're just. This is why it's very hard to change people that don't believe in God to be pro-life, because you don't necessarily believe that human life is necessarily special.
No, I mean I do.
But you might
believe
think it's like
human life
unique
is
and
very
it's like
special, right?
interesting.
It is unique
But you
experience,
don't
right?
believe it's made in the image of a creator.
Okay, yeah.
And that's fine. And that's why we tend to be the pro-life champions, and those that don't believe in God don't. And that's okay.
Okay.
It's just that clarity is important for the audience.
Okay, so I guess we can keep going back and forth. I'm sure you get a whole line. We'll
It's
give it
fine.
to more
No,
people.
you-
But I do.
you've been great.
I do want to have a good question with you. A question about that I want to leave off on is. So it seems like I think you're pretty set in stone in this position, and I would like to ask, what would I have to do or prove to show you in order to convince you that pro-life isn't the answer that society should be seeking for?
I mean, it would be an impossibility. You have to prove to me God doesn't exist.
Okay, so then we can agree that like this is just a moral issue that you're appealing to a book.
Of course. I mean, all moral issues appeal to an authority, obviously.
Okay.
Why is murder wrong?
I mean, because it. Well, the reason if you want to talk about morality, we can talk about morality too.
Abortion is a moral issue. Of course
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
But
the reason why
our
I
whole
think-
conversation is
I
laced
think-
with morality.
But in order to kind of like reduct it to like a textbook or a book or a specific like.
Well,
thing
why?
ascribed
Where do you
truth,
get your
right?
morality from?
Well, I think morality should be based on like what is the best choice of action to help society progress.
Okay,
If
so
that makes any sense.
okay, got it. What
Right.
what if society agrees we should kill the dumb people?
Well, probably not the best.
Well, but you why?
Well, no, the thing is, it's
How about- how about
the
this?
thing is,
We should abort-
pragmatically that doesn't work out.
Yes,
If we
it does.
kill
In,
the bad
in Iceland, it's mandatory to abort Down syndrome babies.
Okay.
It's that's best, right? Down syndrome people are a strain in society. Why do you say it's wrong?
I mean, because there's some degree of we should protect some people.
Why? By what standard? Why are you appealing to? I appeal to a book. What do you appeal
The
to?
thing is, I think like there's still some value to
Why?
people
What
to
standard?
that
Is
have,
that your
like-
opinion, or is there something
No,
transcendent telling you that?
No, there's something transcendent because like there is some sacredity to life, and that's what I agree with. I agree that life
Why?
is sacred. That's why I would agree that if you adopted a more broader pro-life stance, I think I would be more on side of that. Like if you want to have a society where we're forcing women to breed and pump out children, then I would say you have to create that society where like it is more able for them to do that, and in addition to not be indiscriminate between life. So I think I